Hello, my name is Ian Reese. I'm an environmental education assistant at Kentucky State University. And I'm going to go through a presentation about light pollution. So to begin, I have two pictures here. The one on the left is a photo of the Milky Way galaxy from Earth, and the one on the right is a picture of the sky from Lexington, Kentucky. And so we're just going to look at these two pictures and look at the differences between the skies. So the one on the left, you may notice, you can see a lot more stars. Of course, you can see the Milky Way. There's a lot more going on in the sky compared to the one on the right, where we kind of have an orange glow, and there's not much visible. And so that reduced visibility in the picture from Lexington over an urban area is a form of light pollution. So light pollution is defined as excessive, misdirected, or obtrusive artificial light. So that's any light that's not natural, that is where it shouldn't be. And so there are a few types of light pollution. The first one, going back to that picture of Lexington, is called sky glow. So a lot of times if you're traveling down the interstate or traveling to a new city, when you start to get close to that urban area, you may notice an orange glow in the sky. And that's a combination of all the lights from the city reflecting on the clouds. And so sky glow is defined as illumination of the night sky, often associated with artificial lights of cities and other urban areas. Another type of light pollution is light trespass. It occurs when light spills into areas where it's not needed, wanted, or intended. So if you've ever had a neighbor that has a light on that shines through your bedroom window at night that keeps you up, that's a type of light trespass. A third type of light pollution is glare, the presence of excessive bright light that causes discomfort and interferes with depth perception. This one's really prevalent in billboards, as you can see from the picture on the left here. Also, just driving at night, if there's a really busy highway, glare from the headlights can really affect your vision. And then one more type of light pollution, clutter, excessive grouping of artificial lights frequently occurring in urban areas. So like in this picture, there's a lot of street lights grouped together. Other examples of light clutter are stadium lights or busy parking lots at night. And so what are the effects of light pollution? We got to talk about why light pollution is bad. So for wildlife specifically, on nocturnal mammals, you can see decreased reproduction, difficulty in foraging for food, increased visibility to predators, and impairment of night vision. Nocturnal migrating birds and bats, collision with human infrastructure. Birds have a big problem with colliding with human buildings, and some of that is to do with the light that comes off of them. Because they're continuously flying near a source of light, they can become exhausted by doing that, and they can steer off course, so they can be misdirected while they're trying to migrate. Amphibians see decreased reproduction, just like mammals, reduced foraging for food, confusion and disorientation, increasing susceptibility to predators. Nocturnal reptiles causes disorientation, decreased appetite and feeding behavior, reduced mating, increased susceptibility to predation and other threats. And then moths and other insects, I'm sure we've all seen moths gathered around a porch light or some other light source, and they all gather and fly. And they're doing that because they use the light from the moon and stars to kind of orient them and to navigate where they're going. And so that can really throw them off, and they'll kind of get lost going towards the light source. So they're attracted to light sources that waste their energy. It interferes with mating and migratory behaviors, and there's increased susceptibility to predation. Another example of wildlife being affected by light pollution is sea turtles. A lot of sea turtles have difficulties getting back to the ocean because they use the reflection from the moon on the water to guide them towards the ocean. And so sometimes they'll see lights from the city nearby and go towards roads instead of the ocean, and they don't survive. And so there's negative effects from light pollution to wildlife, but also to humans as well. So if you don't have any clear view of the sky or the celestial bodies, you risk the loss of cultural values and heritage. So there's scientific value, there's cultural value, in a lot of places there's religious value to being able to see the sky. And excessive outdoor light can also be wasteful. So the International Dark Sky Association estimates that in the US, at least 30% of all outdoor light is wasted, resulting in a loss of $3.3 billion and the release of 21 million tons of CO2 per year. And this is all just from wasted light that's not being used by anybody. We need to try and mitigate the effects of light pollution. So there's a few ways to do that. One is through education. We can try to educate business owners, utility companies, and community members on why light pollution is bad and how they can change what they're doing. There's also citizen science projects, so apps and websites like Loss of the Night and globeatnight.org. So these are some screenshots that I've taken. There we go. These are screenshots that I've taken from my own phone using the Loss of the Night app. And this app is really cool because you can take your phone outside, point it up at the sky, and it will guide you to where you should be able to see constellations. And then from there, you tell the app whether you can see it or not, whether what you're looking for is visible, and it really helps build up a database to track how bad light pollution is and in what areas the light pollution is occurring. Something else to mitigate light pollution, you can upgrade your infrastructure. So things like replacing unshielded lights with shielded lights and installing motion sensors to turn lights off when they're not in use. So this graphic here, the main difference is on the left side you have fixtures that produce glare and light trespass. They don't really have any shields on them. And the ones on the right are alternatives that you can use that have shields on the light to reduce any excess light that's not being used. And I'll share a resource where you can find this list of lights shortly. So additional resources. One thing you can do is to do a light audit of your school or your home or any building that you're in frequently. And so if you go to this website here, you can Google search Project Wild Lights Out and it should be the first link that comes up. It has a list of resources. It has that graphic of the lights that I just showed, and it has all the instructions that you need to do your own light audit at home. And so if you're interested in doing that, the overview of the project is you'll conduct an audit of the types of outdoor lights on one building at your school or your home to determine how those lights may be negatively impacting people and wildlife, as well as how much energy those lights are using. So with this information, you'll then be able to recommend actions to reduce light pollution and improve energy efficiency at your school or, of course, at your home. And so while you're doing this activity here, these are some of the questions that you're going to be asking and trying to find the answers to. So things like what types of bulbs are being used, what type of shielding do you have that's being used to direct light, where does lighting fall on your site, does the lighting fall where it's supposed to, when are the lights on and for how much time, how much power, that's usually measured in kilowatt hours, is being used on these outdoor lights. What's the cost of operating the lights, and what's the estimated amount of CO2 that's being released from the energy produced to power the lights. So to wrap up, light pollution has negative impacts on not only wildlife but also on humans. We need to be mindful of the light that we use outside at nighttime to protect wildlife and also to save us money and energy. And so I really recommend trying a light audit at your home, school, or business to see how you can reduce your impact, see how much energy you're using, how much light pollution you actually have, and see if you can't try to mitigate that. And so my name is Ian Reese. Once again, you can contact me at ian.reese@kysu if you have any questions, if you need any help finding these resources for your own light audit. I want to thank you again for joining us for Earth Week, and we're going to move now into a short break, and we'll be back with you shortly.